Acts 23, Paul was arrested in chapter 22. The Jews were wanting to kill him. He had spoken to them about how God had called them to minister to the Gentiles. They were so angry at this. They wanted him to be rid of. They said, get rid of him. He is not worthy to be on the earth. He tells the Roman guard he's a Roman citizen. The Roman citizen brings together a council. They're about to have their arguments before the leaders. Basically, it's the beginning of this sham of a trial, if you will. We learn about it in chapter 23, verse 1. Let's dive into the word. Paul looked straight at the Sanhedrin and said, "My brothers, I have fulfilled my duty to God in all good conscience to this day." At this, the high priest Ananias ordered those standing near Paul to strike him on the mouth. Then Paul said to him, "God will strike you, you whitewashed wall. You sit there to judge me according to the law, yet you yourself violate the law by commanding that I be struck." Verse 4. Those who were standing near Paul said, "How dare you insult God's high priest?" Paul would reply in verse 5, "Brothers, I did not realize that he was the high priest, for it is written, 'Do not speak evil about the ruler of your people.'" He quotes Exodus 22. He didn't know that he was the high priest. So the high priest spoke something, how would I say this? This high priest spoke something aggressive, mean, and incorrect to him. And Paul replied, "No, you're wrong. God's going to strike you because you're in the wrong." And they said, "How dare you say that to the high priest or someone in authority, someone in leadership?" And Paul says, "I did not know that he was in the authority." Essentially, Paul is apologizing here. He says, "I did not know who he was." Verse 6, then Paul, knowing that some of them were Sadducees and other Pharisees, called out in the Sanhedrin, "My brothers, I am a Pharisee, descended from Pharisees. I stand on trial because of the hope of the resurrection of the dead." When he said this, a dispute broke out between the Pharisees and the Sadducees, and the assemblies was divided. He knew. The Sadducees say that there is no resurrection and that there are neither angels nor spirits, but the Pharisees believe all these things. He basically got the people that were united, opposing him, divided against each other, arguing. Verse 9. There was a great uproar, and some of the teachers of the law who were Pharisees stood up and argued vigorously. "We find nothing wrong with this man," because, of course, he said he was a Pharisee, and they wanted to defend him. The Sadducees were upset. "What if a spirit or angel has spoken to him?" The dispute became so violent that the commander was afraid Paul would be torn to pieces by them. He ordered the troops to go down and take him away from them by force and bring him into the barracks. The following night, the Lord stood near Paul and said, "Take courage. As you have testified about me in Jerusalem, so you must also testify in Rome." God spoke to him by the Holy Spirit and said, "Okay, you're unashamed. You stood strong. Now I'm sending you to Rome, and you're going to share the gospel, and you're going to reach many for the glory of Jesus Christ." We continue in verse 12. The next morning, some Jews formed a conspiracy and bound themselves with an oath not to eat or drink until they had killed Paul. Well, I guess they were going to be not eating or drinking for a long time. More than 40 men were involved in this plot. They went to the chief priests and the elders and said, "We have taken a solemn oath not to eat anything until we have killed Paul. Now then, you and the Sanhedrin petition the commander to bring him before you on the pretext of wanting more accurate information about this case, for we are ready to kill him while he is on the way, before he gets here." So they were going to kill him on the road to the trial. But when the son of Paul's sister heard of this plot, he went into the barracks and told Paul. Then Paul called one of the centurions and said, "Take this young man to the commander. He has something to tell him." So he took him to the commander. The centurion said, "Paul, the prisoner, sent for me and asked me to bring this young man to you because he has something to tell you." The commander took the young man by the hand, drew him aside, and asked, "What is it you want to tell me?" He said, "Some Jews have agreed to take you to bring Paul before the Sanhedrin tomorrow on the pretext of wanting more accurate information about him. Don't give in to them, because more than 40 of them are waiting to ambush him. They've taken an oath not to eat or drink until they've killed him. They are ready now, waiting for your consent to this request." The commander dismissed the young man with this warning: "Don't tell anyone that you've reported this to me." He had uncovered a plot that the Jewish people were going to do something wicked. They were going to ambush the Roman soldiers and Paul on the way to his trial. He said, "Thank you for letting me know. Keep it hush-hush." Verse 23. Then he called 2 of his centurions and ordered them, "Get ready a detachment of 200 soldiers, 70 horsemen, and 200 spearmen to go to Caesarea at 9 tonight. Provide horses for Paul so that he may be taken safely to the governor Felix." He wrote a letter as follows: "Claudius Lysias, to His Excellency Governor Felix," who Felix would be a higher ranking judge or a higher ranking leader under the Roman rule. "This man was seized by the Jews and they were about to kill him, but I came with my troops and rescued him, for I had learned that he is a Roman citizen. I wanted to know why they were accusing him, so I brought him to their Sanhedrin. I found their accusations had to do with questions about their law, but there was no charge against him that deserved death or imprisonment. When I was informed of a plot to be carried out against this man, I sent him to you at once. I also ordered his accusers to present to you their case against him." So the soldiers, carrying out the orders, took Paul with them during the night and brought him as far as Antipatris. The next day, they let the cavalry go on with him while they returned to their barracks. They basically sent him to another city where he would be safe. They didn't want him to be killed. They didn't want him to be harmed by the Jewish people. Verse 33, when the cavalry arrived in Caesarea, they delivered the letter to the governor and handed Paul over to him. The governor read the letter and asked what province he was from. Learning that he was from Cilicia, he said, I will hear your case when your accusers get here. Then he ordered that Paul be kept under guard in Herod's palace. The accusers would come visit, and he would have his trial underneath Felix, one of the governors, underneath one of the leaders. And we will learn in the later chapters how Paul would eventually get to Rome when he would make his appeal to Caesar. Looking forward to sharing more with you soon. Be blessed today.